The ring shakes with such force that you can feel it through the television screen, and in that split second before impact, the entire arena holds its breath because they know what's coming. John Cena has hoisted another superstar onto his shoulders in that unmistakable fireman's carry position, and the attitude adjustment is about to change the course of wrestling history once again. Before we count down the most devastating executions of this iconic finishing move, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're bringing you the absolute best in wrestling content every single week. The attitude adjustment isn't just a wrestling move, it's a statement of dominance that has ended more matches than most wrestlers have competed in during their entire careers. When Cena first introduced this maneuver to the WWE Universe, nobody could have predicted that it would become one of the most recognized finishing moves in professional wrestling history. The beauty of the attitude adjustment lies in its deceptive simplicity, a fireman's carry that transitions into a devastating slam that has put away everyone from cruiserweights to super heavyweights. Throughout his legendary career spanning nearly 2 decades, Cena has modified, perfected, and executed this move in ways that have left fans absolutely stunned and opponents completely defeated. Tonight we're diving deep into the 10 most incredible attitude adjustments that Cena has ever delivered inside a WWE ring. These aren't just regular executions of his finishing move, these are the moments that defined championship reigns, settled bitter rivalries, and created instant classics that fans will be discussing for generations to come. Each one of these moments represents a perfect storm of storytelling, athleticism, and pure spectacle that only happens when everything aligns perfectly in professional wrestling. Starting our countdown, we travel back to a time when Cena delivered an attitude adjustment to the Big Show that defied every law of physics that should govern human capability. The sheer mass of Big Show, a man who has weighed over 500 pounds during various points of his career, makes this feat almost incomprehensible. Cena approached this challenge during a pay-per-view event where the stakes couldn't have been higher, and the championship gold was hanging in the balance. The crowd watched in absolute disbelief as Cena somehow managed to hoist the giant onto his shoulders, his legs trembling under the enormous weight, every muscle in his body straining against the impossible task. The moment seemed to freeze in time as Cena steadied himself, and then with a roar that echoed throughout the arena, he drove Big Show down to the mat with such force that the entire ring appeared to collapse under the impact. The referee's 3 count seemed almost secondary to the achievement itself, as fans were still processing what they had just witnessed with their own eyes. Moving forward in our countdown, we encounter a moment that took place at WrestleMania, the grandest stage of them all, where Cena found himself locked in battle with Edge in a match that had the entire wrestling world buzzing with anticipation. The rivalry between these two superstars had reached a boiling point after months of psychological warfare and personal attacks that went far beyond typical professional wrestling animosity. Edge had established himself as the ultimate opportunist, a master manipulator who would do absolutely anything to maintain his grip on championship glory. The match itself was a brutal back-and-forth affair that saw both men pushing themselves to their absolute limits, executing moves that left the crowd gasping and chanting in appreciation of the incredible performance they were witnessing. As the match reached its climax, Cena countered one of Edge's signature spear attempts by catching him in mid-air, a feat that required split-second timing and incredible awareness. In one fluid motion, Cena transitioned Edge onto his shoulders and delivered an attitude adjustment that echoed throughout the stadium. The pinfall victory that followed wasn't just about winning a match, it was about proving that determination and resilience could overcome cunning and ruthlessness when it mattered most. The next entry in our countdown takes us to a ladder match where the rules of engagement were thrown completely out the window and innovation became the name of the game. Cena found himself battling multiple opponents in a chaotic environment where ladders became weapons and the championship hung tantalizingly above the ring. The match had already produced several jaw-dropping moments, but what Cena did next would be replayed on highlight reels for years to come. After positioning a ladder in the center of the ring, Cena climbed several rungs before pulling his opponent up with him in a display of strength that seemed almost superhuman. The crowd rose to their feet as they realized what was about to happen, and the arena filled with a deafening roar as Cena executed an attitude adjustment from halfway up the ladder. The impact when both superstars crashed to the mat was absolutely thunderous, and the commentators struggled to find words adequate enough to describe what everyone had just witnessed. This wasn't just a finishing move, it was a moment of innovation that pushed the boundaries of what fans thought was possible inside a wrestling ring. Continuing our journey through Cena's greatest hits, we arrive at a confrontation with Batista that represented a clash of 2 different eras and philosophies in professional wrestling. Batista had established himself as an absolute powerhouse, a man who had dominated everyone placed in front of him through sheer strength and intimidation. The build to their encounter had been electric, with both men claiming they were the true face of the company and that only one could stand at the top of the mountain. When they finally collided in the ring, the match lived up to every bit of hype that had been generated. These weren't just 2 wrestlers competing for a championship, these were 2 icons fighting to prove who would define the next era of sports entertainment. The match featured power moves and near falls that had fans constantly on the edge of their seats, unsure of which direction the outcome would go. In the closing moments, after surviving multiple Batista bombs and refusing to stay down, Cena dug deep into his reserves and found the strength to lift the animal onto his shoulders. The attitude adjustment that followed was delivered with such conviction and force that there was never any doubt about the 3 count that would follow. This victory cemented Cena's position at the top of the company and proved that heart and determination could stand toe-to-toe with raw power. The halfway point of our countdown brings us to an attitude adjustment that Cena delivered to Randy Orton during one of their many epic encounters that defined an entire era of wrestling. The rivalry between Cena and Orton is the stuff of legend, 2 superstars who seemed destined to be forever intertwined in each other's careers. They had faced each other so many times that they knew every counter, every tendency, every possible scenario that could unfold during a match. This particular encounter took place during a time when Orton had embraced his vicious side, becoming the Viper who struck without warning and showed no mercy to anyone who stood in his way. The match itself was a psychological chess game as much as it was a physical battle, with both men attempting to outwit the other while also proving their physical superiority. Orton had controlled large portions of the match with his methodical, calculated offense that slowly broke down Cena's defenses. But Cena has made a career out of never giving up, and when Orton attempted his signature RKO out of nowhere, Cena somehow managed to counter it in mid-motion. With reflexes that seemed almost impossible, Cena caught Orton and immediately transitioned him onto his shoulders. The attitude adjustment that followed was picture perfect in its execution, and the victory that came with it added another chapter to their legendary rivalry. As we move into the top half of our countdown, we encounter a moment that took place on Monday Night Raw in front of a red-hot crowd that was absolutely electric from the opening bell. Cena found himself defending his championship against a hungry challenger who had been building momentum for months and finally earned their opportunity at the gold. The atmosphere in the arena was absolutely charged with anticipation, and you could feel that something special was about to happen. The match exceeded all expectations, with both superstars leaving everything they had inside that ring. There were moments where it seemed certain that we were about to witness a new champion being crowned, near falls that had fans leaping out of their seats and commentators losing their minds. But Cena has built his reputation on performing at his absolute best when the pressure is at its highest. After surviving a particularly close near fall that had everyone convinced the match was over, Cena somehow kicked out and began his trademark comeback sequence. The energy in the building reached a fever pitch as Cena hit the ropes and delivered his signature moves in rapid succession. When he finally hoisted his opponent onto his shoulders for the attitude adjustment, the crowd was at a deafening level. The execution was flawless, the impact was tremendous, and the celebration that followed reminded everyone why Cena had been the face of the company for so long. Our countdown continues with a moment that took place inside the unforgiving structure of the Elimination Chamber, where 6 superstars entered but only one could emerge victorious with championship gold. The chamber is one of the most brutal match types in all of wrestling, a demonic structure of steel chains and unforgiving metal that has ended careers and created nightmares. Cena entered this particular chamber as the champion, which meant he had a target on his back from 5 other hungry competitors who all wanted to take his spot at the top. The match was absolute chaos from the moment the first chamber pod opened, with superstars using every part of the structure as a weapon. Bodies were being thrown into steel chains, heads were being driven into metal platforms, and the crowd was witnessing the kind of carnage that only an elimination chamber can provide. As the match wore on and competitors were eliminated one by one, Cena found himself as one of the final 2 survivors. His body was battered and bruised, covered in welts from being thrown into the steel, but his determination remained unshaken. In the final moments of the match, with one opponent remaining between him and victory, Cena summoned strength from somewhere deep inside. He lifted his battered opponent onto his shoulders and delivered an attitude adjustment directly onto the steel grating of the chamber floor. The metallic sound of the impact echoed throughout the arena, and the pinfall that followed secured Cena's place as one of the greatest chamber competitors of all time. Breaking into our top 3, we arrive at a SummerSlam encounter that featured one of the most innovative attitude adjustments ever executed in WWE history. Cena was involved in a tables match where the only way to achieve victory was to put your opponent through a table, which meant that traditional pinfalls and submissions were completely useless. The match had already seen multiple tables shattered and several close calls where it appeared the match was about to end. Both superstars had taken incredible risks and absorbed tremendous punishment in their quest for victory. As the match reached its critical final moments, Cena set up a table in the center of the ring while his opponent lay prone on the mat. But Cena wasn't satisfied with a simple attitude adjustment through the table. He wanted to create a moment that would be talked about forever. He positioned his opponent on the top turnbuckle before climbing up himself, the crowd rising to their feet as they realized what was about to happen. From the top rope, with both men perched precariously above the ring, Cena executed a super attitude adjustment that sent his opponent crashing through the table with devastating force. The explosion of wood and the roar of the crowd created a moment of pure wrestling magic, and the victory that followed was almost secondary to the incredible visual that had just been created. The runner-up position in our countdown belongs to an attitude adjustment that Cena delivered during his historic United States Championship Open Challenge Series. During this period, Cena defended his championship every single week against any challenger who had the courage to step up and face him. This created some of the best wrestling television in years, with unexpected challengers and incredible matches happening on a weekly basis. One particular challenge came from an independent wrestling star who had just signed with WWE and was making their main roster debut. The match that followed was an absolute clinic in professional wrestling, with technical excellence and high-flying innovation blending together perfectly. The newcomer pushed Cena harder than anyone had in months, executing moves that the WWE Universe had never seen before and coming within inches of pulling off the upset victory. The crowd was split down the middle, with half cheering for the established champion and half rallying behind the upstart challenger. As the match entered its final phase, both men were completely exhausted but still fighting with everything they had left. After a particularly spectacular exchange of counters and reversals, Cena managed to catch his opponent in mid-air during a high-risk maneuver. With impeccable timing, he transitioned them onto his shoulders and delivered an attitude adjustment that seemed to come out of absolutely nowhere. The 3 count that followed ended one of the best television matches of the year and showed that Cena could still go toe-to-toe with the very best talent in the world. Finally, we reached the number 1 spot on our countdown, the greatest attitude adjustment that John Cena has ever delivered in his legendary WWE career. This moment took place at WrestleMania during the main event in front of over 70,000 screaming fans packed into the stadium. Cena was challenging for the WWE Championship in a match that had been building for an entire year of storytelling. His opponent was at the absolute peak of their powers, having dominated the roster for months and seemingly impossible to defeat. The match itself was everything a WrestleMania main event should be, with incredible action, emotional storytelling, and several moments that had fans convinced they were about to witness history. Both superstars kicked out of multiple finishing moves, something that added to the drama and made every near fall feel like it could be the one that ended the match. As the match approached the 30-minute mark, both men were running on pure adrenaline and willpower. The crowd was at an absolutely deafening level, chanting and cheering with every move and counter. In the closing sequence, after surviving yet another finishing move from his opponent, Cena pulled himself up using the ropes and called for one more attitude adjustment. The champion attempted to counter, throwing elbows and doing everything possible to escape, but Cena's grip was ironclad. With the entire world watching, Cena delivered the attitude adjustment with more force than he had ever used before, driving the champion into the mat with authority. The referee's hand slapped the mat 3 times, and in that instant, Cena became WWE Champion once again at WrestleMania, creating a moment that will be replayed as long as wrestling exists. These 10 moments represent just a fraction of the incredible career that John Cena has built in WWE, but they showcase why the attitude adjustment has become one of the most devastating and recognizable finishing moves in all of professional wrestling. From lifting giants who should be impossible to move to executing the move from unimaginable heights and in innovative ways, Cena has proven time and time again that when he loads someone onto his shoulders, the match is about to reach its conclusion. If you enjoyed this journey through some of the greatest moments in WWE history, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on incredible wrestling content just like this.